About a month before I was supposed to marry Jennifer, she suddenly suggested she wanted to have a baby for another guy. Of course, I couldn't accept that, but she wouldn't let it go. Every time we talked, it came up. Then, about 2 weeks before the wedding, I accidentally found her doctor's appointment confirmation and appointment notes in which she was listed as a fertility patient, and I was shocked to find out she was nearly a month pregnant. She hadn't even bothered to ask my permission. In that moment, our years together just evaporated. I decided to call off the wedding and get rid of everything that reminded me of us. On the day we were supposed to walk down the aisle, I instead locked myself in the research lab. From then on, we had nothing to do with each other. I've explained this to you a million times, but Michael has cancer, and only has a year to live. His biggest wish is to leave behind a child for his family. He saved my life years ago. Now I have to help him fulfill this dream. I've heard these kinds of words not even hundreds of times this month. When Jennifer first made the suggestion, I turned her down flat. But she wouldn't let up. It came up practically every day. Her attitude went from politely asking to just being totally insistent, even arguing with me, like I was committing some kind of crime for not agreeing. But even for a life debt, is having a baby for someone else the right thing to do? But the constant arguing just wore me down. I didn't have the strength to convince her to change her mind. I just looked at the woman I'd loved for 5 years and asked, my voice hoarse, "We're supposed to get married next month, and you want to have a baby for another man? What am I supposed to think? What about me?" It was the first time Jennifer had seen me so defeated, like I was a dark cloud hanging over her. Her tone softened a little. "Aaron, I know it's hard to accept, but I'm the only one who can help Michael. I can't watch him go with regrets. Besides, it's just artificial insemination. It won't change anything between us. If you love me, you'll understand, right?" Hearing that, I knew then and there. Jennifer had already made up her mind. She was going to have a baby for Michael, no matter what. And my opinion? Well, who cares? She started to say something else, but her phone rang. Jennifer glanced at the screen and went out to the balcony to take the call. I watched her go, a bitter smile on my face. Jennifer and I were childhood friends, in the same class since elementary school, even went to the same college. I knew I was in love with her from a young age. I was always quietly there for her, but she never seemed to reciprocate. It wasn't until after we graduated that she finally noticed my devotion and agreed to be my girlfriend. We'd known each other for over 20 years, and when we finally got together, shouldn't we have been the closest, most trusting people in each other's lives? We'd been together for 5 years. I never touched her phone, not even when she took calls in private. I remember once she had a high fever and was resting in bed, and her phone kept getting notifications. I was worried about waking her, so I just wanted to turn off the sound. But the moment my finger touched her phone, she snapped awake and, without knowing anything, immediately accused me of snooping. No matter how I explained, she wouldn't listen. I ended up sleeping on the sofa all night. I just thought it was her personality, and that someday I would completely enter her heart. But 5 years passed and nothing changed. Now, she even wanted to have a baby for another man, completely ignoring my feelings, her actual boyfriend. When Jennifer came back in, she was clearly excited. She grabbed her jacket, putting it on as she headed out the door. "I've got something to do. I'll be back later. Just think about what I said, okay?" I heard her hurrying footsteps. Whoever she was rushing off to see could only be Michael. Sure enough, a little while later, Michael sent a picture. I zoomed in on it and almost lost my balance. It was a confirmation of pregnancy, and the mother's name on it? Jennifer Williams. The date of conception made the world spin. It clearly stated she was 3 weeks pregnant. Which meant, a month ago, Jennifer had already gone through with artificial insemination and was pregnant with Michael's child. She never even considered asking me what I thought. If that was the case, why did she keep bringing it up to me the past month? Was it to soothe her conscience? I felt like all the strength had drained out of me. I just slumped to the floor, exhausted. My heart felt like it was being squeezed in a fist, making it hard to breathe. It was no wonder Jennifer had been so happy a little while ago. She knew the artificial insemination had been successful, and she was carrying Michael's child. She was probably at the hospital with Michael right now, celebrating. I closed my eyes in pain, and endless sadness washing over me. I couldn't believe the woman I'd loved for so many years was carrying another man's baby. Just 2 months ago, I'd proposed, and we were planning to get married next month. I had already ordered her wedding dress and booked the hotel. I was so looking forward to our wedding day, to taking Jennifer's hand and walking down the aisle. But now, all those hopes were just bubbles, vanishing into thin air. My phone buzzed, jarring me awake. I answered it without thinking. It was my sister, Jessica's, clear voice on the other end. "Aaron, I know you're getting married soon, but I wanted to ask one more time. Are you really not reconsidering joining our lab? You're Professor Davis's most talented student. He's always wanted you to come work with him. Because you're getting married, he said he'd let you stay at the lab for 1 month and then take half a month off so you can have time with your wife. He wants you to help him in a new experiment." I'd known about his new lab for 6 months. He personally called to invite me to join. But once you went into the lab, you basically lost contact with the outside world. You could only leave after the research was finished, which could take a month or 2, or even a year or 2. I didn't want to be away from Jennifer for so long, and I couldn't stand the thought of not being able to talk to her, so I turned him down. But now, all I could think about was that pregnancy confirmation. Jennifer was carrying another man's baby. If she never considered my feelings or our upcoming marriage, then this marriage didn't need to happen either. I gripped the phone tightly. "Jessica, I'm in. I don't need the vacation time, just the normal research schedule is fine." Her voice was filled with joy. "Great. Professor Davis will be so happy. When are you planning to come? How about the day of the wedding? You could still go on your honeymoon." I replied calmly, "I don't need one. You can drop me off at the lab at 9 a.m. I looked at the calendar on my desk. I'd circled October 10th in red. Originally, I wanted to remind myself how many days were left until the wedding so I could organize the preparations. But now, it was a countdown to leaving Jennifer. Only 15 days left. Consider it giving the last 30 years of feelings some time to let go. After 15 days, Jennifer and I would have nothing to do with each other again. Jennifer didn't come home that night. I didn't call to ask where she was. I saw on Michael's Facebook page that they had gone from the hospital straight to Michael's place to tell his family about the pregnancy. In the picture, Michael's grandmother was holding Jennifer's hand and talking to her. Jennifer was smiling softly, gently touching her stomach with her other hand. I've been with Jennifer for 5 years. She's only been to my house once after accepting my proposal, even though we live less than half an hour from each other. Before that, she'd never wanted to come to my place. She said she didn't like being around my family and felt uncomfortable. Even that one time, she was just polite and reserved, nothing like how she was in the picture with Michael's family, so tender. I suppressed the pain in my heart and turned off my phone. The next day, I called some friends and told them the wedding was off. Jennifer had said she didn't like weddings. She thought they were just a pointless ritual. Because of my insistence, she reluctantly agreed to a small wedding, inviting only our closest friends. Everyone knew I loved her so much. So when my friends heard the wedding was cancelled, they were shocked. "Haven't you been in love with Jennifer for years? It took you so long to get her to agree to marry you. Why are you giving up so easily?" A bitter feeling welled up inside me. Give up? Of course, it wasn't easy. I pursued her for over 20 years, finally waiting for her to agree to marry me. How could I so easily let go of feelings that had lasted so long? The relationship was unequal from the start. From the beginning, I'd always been chasing Jennifer's coattails, and she never stopped for me. At first, I didn't care. I figured if I could spend 20 years getting her to agree to marry me, then I could definitely enter her heart. It was just a matter of time. We had our whole married lives to look forward to, and I would be happy to continue to wait for her. Everything changed when Michael, the person considered to have saved her life, appeared. I realized Jennifer wasn't always cold to everyone. With Michael, she always smiled, but she rarely ever gave me one. Back then, I comforted myself, Michael saved her life, so she's just paying him back. But I never expected that when Michael was diagnosed with cancer, she'd actually agree to have a baby for him to continue his bloodline, and then pretend she was asking for my permission to do that, but in reality she'd already gone through with the artificial insemination. It was then that I realized clearly, Jennifer and I couldn't keep going like this. Although it would be hard to cut off such a long-lasting relationship, I still had to be determined to eliminate it. I didn't tell them the reason why, I just said I'd be going to the lab and would be cut off from the world for a long time after that. To express my apologies, I stayed with my friends till midnight before going home. When I got home, Jennifer had just arrived. She frowned when she smelled the alcohol on me and took a step back, covering her mouth and nose with her hand. "Stay away from me. This smell makes me want to throw up." My eyes lingered on her hand protectively covering her stomach. I mocked myself inwardly. It was so obvious that Jennifer wasn't even trying to hide it from me. However, since she wasn't trying to tell me, I wouldn't bring it up either. I didn't say anything more and turned around to go into the bathroom. When I came out, Jennifer was on her phone, texting like crazy. She smiled brightly, but I just glanced at her and was about to go to the bedroom when she called me back. "Can you do me a favor?" I stopped walking. The last time I heard that was a month ago when she first suggested she would have a baby for Michael. Then we spent the whole month arguing. Now that she'd gotten pregnant, there probably wasn't anything left. "Don't go for the wedding photo shoot tomorrow." I looked at the calendar on the desk. I'd circled the date and written wedding photo shoot in big letters with a pen. Even though I didn't know why Jennifer wanted to cancel it, I wasn't planning to get married either. If she didn't say it, I would have found a reason to cancel the photo shoot. Her request actually saved me a lot of effort. I nodded. "Okay, I'll call the photographer and cancel." Jennifer looked slightly surprised. She didn't expect me to agree so quickly. She thought I would ask why. After all, I was the one who meticulously planned and prepared for every detail of the wedding. I spent a ton of money on the photographer, just to get the most perfect wedding pictures. But she didn't expect that after she said it, I would agree so calmly. Jennifer looked at me, her expression complicated. "No need to cancel. Michael said he'll never get the chance to get married in his life, so he wants to take the photos with me, as if he has already. He won't have regrets in the future if we do. You can take wedding photos with Michael tomorrow and then take them with me later on." Jennifer said it casually, like she was asking, "What should we eat today?" It was just like when she announced she was going to do artificial insemination a month ago. On the surface it was a discussion, but in reality, every word showed she'd already decided. She just wanted to let me know. My eyes lowered, hiding the sarcasm in my heart. She didn't know, I only had 13 days left in this city, that we had no future. I replied softly, "Okay," and went to my room to rest. I wasn't getting married anyway, so who Jennifer took wedding photos with didn't matter to me anymore. Jennifer watched me go, a little uneasy. I was too calm, without asking anything, which meant she couldn't argue with the excuses she had come up with. However, just then, Michael called. Jennifer let go of her concerns and went out to the balcony to take the call. When I woke up, Jennifer was getting ready to leave. She reminded me as she put on her shoes. "After the wedding photo shoot, Michael and I will go on a trip for a few days. He has always wanted to go to Hokkaido, and I will go with him. The wedding will be simple since I won't have time to attend the rehearsals or decorate," she added. "You decide everything, and you don't need to ask me." Swallowing the piece of bread, I said. "It'll be simple, no wedding photos, no guests, no MC, and no groom." Jennifer looked at me, silently ate her breakfast, and continued. After the wedding, we will go to Europe for our honeymoon. I remember you always wanted to go. If this had been before, and if Jennifer had spontaneously suggested going on a honeymoon, I would have jumped right in and been making travel plans because I'd been waiting to hear her say that for so long. But she had always said that she didn't like to and that it was tiring. All I did was focus on eating my toast, without saying anything. Jennifer looked at me in surprise. There was something that she wanted to say, but after looking at the clock on the wall, she hastily opened the door and left, only leaving behind to talk later. I grabbed the calendar on the desk and used a highlighter to darken the word wedding photo. Only 12 days left. After breakfast, I started to pack my things and clean out the stuff I didn't need, one album of pictures that only had 5 in it, and one broken projector. The matching stuff had never even been used. We'd been together 5 years, and every item in the house was carefully chosen by me, piece by piece, gradually turning an empty space into a warm and comfortable home. But looking closer, so much of it Jennifer had never touched. She'd always said, even though we were in love, she was still an individual and didn't like using matching items. It made her feel restricted. Leaving that stuff behind after I left would only annoy her more, so I decided to get rid of it now, erasing all the memories between us. Canceling everything. For the next week, Jennifer didn't come home. But I always knew what she was up to. After all, there was Michael, who shared everything on social media. I couldn't help but see. They were going to hot springs, watching the ocean, taking pictures in the sun. On his stories, I saw a totally different Jennifer. Turns out, she could be as happy and romantic as any other girl in love, she just couldn't show it to me. I didn't care where they went or what they did each day. I'd just scroll past it quickly. I wasn't exactly free either over the past few days. There were so many things at the house and it took me several days to clean everything. After that, I took the opportunity to visit my parents and tell them I was going to the lab soon, and after that I would be out of contact for a while. My dad seemed a little surprised. You and Jennifer are getting married soon. Won't you be living in separate places? My mom's eyes were also full of concern. She took my hand and urged me, think about it carefully, son. You and Jennifer have come so far to get to this point. I'm worried that if you go to the lab, Jennifer won't like it. She might call off the wedding and leave you. I understood what my parents were thinking. Over the years, they'd seen how persistent I was with Jennifer, and they knew how she felt about me. Before I decided to propose, they'd gently tried to tell me I wasn't that important to her. They told me to think again, but I thought I could change her, that she'd completely accept me. So my parents agreed. Now that the wedding was approaching, they were worried that if I went to the lab, Jennifer wouldn't like it, and she might even call off the wedding and leave me. They were afraid I'd get hurt, so they wanted me to think carefully. But now I'm the one that wants to call off the wedding. I told my parents about the cancellation of the wedding. They were silent for a long time. I didn't tell them Jennifer was pregnant with another man's baby. I was scared they couldn't handle the shock. I just said I wanted to continue to contribute to research. Dad sighed and patted me on the shoulder, saying as long as I didn't regret it. I nodded. Back at my place, I called my best friend since childhood, Tom, to help me throw out the stuff I'd already packed. Boxes piled high in the living room took up a lot of space. When we were done, the room suddenly felt empty. Tom looked around, a bit in disbelief. I can't believe you're really doing this. I thought you were joking the other day. I'm the one who has seen you chase after Jennifer for years and years. What happened? He threw me a beer and opened one for himself. Maybe I'm about to leave and I finally feel like I can confide in you. I told Tom everything that had happened over the past month, including the fact that Jennifer was pregnant with Michael's baby. Tom had witnessed everything between Jennifer and me. After hearing everything, he cursed. You treated her so damn well. And she put you in a blue suit before the wedding, then she wanted you to be okay with that. What was she thinking? I can't believe this, Aaron. I shook my head, with a self-deprecating laugh. Who knows? She said Michael was the one who saved her life and she had to fulfill all his wishes. Tom was furious. And you are her life savior? She has no right to treat you like this. I took a sip of my beer and said nothing. Maybe she just doesn't love me. But it's okay. Soon, I'll be away from her. On the 5th day of the countdown, I submitted my resignation at the school. Before, because I wanted to stay close to Jennifer, I'd turned down an offer to continue research with a professor and instead chose to be a teacher at a school. My colleagues were surprised when I turned in my notice. Why are you quitting, Mr. Johnson? You were just handing out wedding candy the other day. Are you going to be a stay-at-home husband? Your wife is so lucky, a colleague teased. I hugged my things and chuckled, no, the wedding's off. When I opened the door, I saw Jennifer and Michael after not seeing them for a week. Jennifer saw me holding the things in my hand and asked unconsciously, "What are you doing with those?" I quickly made up a reason. They're all things I don't use anymore, so I'm bringing them back. Jennifer nodded and looked around the room. It's only been a week, but it looks like a lot of things are missing. I took the box into the bedroom. Just cleaning up some things that aren't needed. Jennifer wanted to say something, but Michael interrupted her. Mr. Johnson, Jennifer has been busy traveling with me the last few days. I also thank you for agreeing to let her do our wedding photo shoot, fulfilling my dream. How about this, I'll treat you to a meal. Consider it as thanking you guys for taking care of me. In the future, I will still need you for a while. I hope that you do not resent me. I looked at his challenging eyes. I could guess that he couldn't stay still anymore. From the time I received the pregnancy test results until now, I hadn't reacted at all. I didn't even question Jennifer once. But now I don't want to continue meaningless arguments with him anymore. Wait 5 more days, and I won't appear in front of Jennifer again. Now I just want to settle everything here so it is easier to leave. Seeing that I didn't answer, Michael's tone was a little hesitant. Mr. Johnson, are you unhappy since the two of you are getting married? Hearing Michael's words, Jennifer immediately frowned. She pointed to me unhappily. Michael sincerely wants to thank us. Why do you put on such a bad face? We are just having a meal, are you resenting him? You have to go. Furthermore, you are a man, so don't be petty. Before I could say anything, in Jennifer's mind, I had been framed as the one at fault. Finally, I was dragged away by Jennifer. At the restaurant, the waiter asked us what we would like to order. I looked through the menu and I immediately heard Jennifer speak. Don't have anything that is too oily or too spicy. And don't get anything with cilantro. After the food was served, Jennifer thoughtfully picked up food for Michael. After that, she pushed a plate of large shrimp towards me. Michael can't eat seafood right now, so this is for you. Looking at the lobster plate, I suddenly lost my appetite. I put down my chopsticks, I don't eat seafood. How ridiculous. After being in love for 5 years, Jennifer didn't know that I don't eat seafood, but she clearly knew all of Michael's preferences. She even remembered small details, such as not eating cilantro. Jennifer clearly didn't know. For a moment, she had a look of bewilderment. When she looked back at me, her eyes rarely had a bit of embarrassment. After that she ordered a few more dishes, but for this meal, I didn't touch the food. I just quietly drank the water in my glass. After the meal, just after walking down the stairs, I received a call from the team leader. It's Davis. The teacher asked me to confirm again whether you wanted to continue with the normal pace of the experiment. The first experiment in the lab is a classified project, which is likely to be out of contact with the outside world for 1 or 2 years. I looked towards Jennifer and Michael walking together in front of me. They were walking in parallel. When going down the stairs, Jennifer unconsciously put her hand on her stomach. It is confirmed, I said in an extremely calm tone. The team leader breathed a sigh of relief after receiving the confirmation. That's great. The teacher was worried that you wouldn't be willing to leave your wife. I looked away and turned to walk to the other side. The wedding has been cancelled. I was getting ready to leave. Just after I finished speaking, I heard a questioning voice from behind. Who will leave? Jennifer just finished sending Michael to the car when she heard my last words. I realized that she didn't hear the previous words, so I found a reason to answer. My friend will be leaving in a while. Jennifer nodded without asking any more. On the 4th day of the countdown, Jennifer brought back wedding photos of her and Michael. She had her phone in one hand as she video called Michael, and with the other hand, she held the frame up for him to see. The wedding photos are ready, she said with a sweet smile. When I went to pick them up, the staff said our photos looked very beautiful. When she said this, I had just gone out to get water. A hint of embarrassment flashed across Jennifer's eyes. She looked at me as if she wanted to say something. I glanced at the photo, then commented softly, "They are indeed very beautiful." Jennifer was stunned. She suddenly realized that I hadn't been seriously chatting with her for a long time. Even during the week that she and Michael were traveling, I didn't send her a single text message. This made her feel out of touch. In the video, Michael was still talking nonstop. She shook her head, and figured I was just too tired of preparing for the wedding. On the 2nd day of the countdown, I remembered that once I entered the lab, everything had to be brought in on my own, so I needed to prepare some commonly used items. So I went to the hospital to get the medicine I had prepared but ended up meeting Jennifer and Michael, who had just completed a prenatal checkup. Jennifer opened her mouth to say something but Michael cut her off, and walked in front of me. And was about to kneel down. "Aaron, I know that you still don't agree to Jennifer being pregnant. But I really can't wait any longer. The doctor said that I only have a year left. I want to see the child born with my own eyes. When the child is born, I will immediately take it away. I will definitely not affect the relationship between you and Jennifer." Before I could speak, Jennifer quickly pulled him up with a worried expression. "Your body is not good, why are you doing this?" She looked at me again. "Since you already know, I won't hide it from you anymore. Please be assured. The fetus is still small. It won't affect our wedding. If I had been here a month ago, I would definitely be angry. I would be down, and I would be in despair. I would have asked myself whether I would be a bad boyfriend and ask why Jennifer would want to carry the baby of another man. However, after going through this time, I have thought things through. It's not that I'm not good enough, it's just that she doesn't love me. If she didn't love me, she wouldn't be able to do such things without thinking about my feelings. Now I know everything about Jennifer. And I have completely let go of my feelings for her. Therefore, they don't have to pretend to want to stop me anymore." I quietly glanced at them and said, "Got it." After saying that, I took the medicine and was about to leave. The day of departure was approaching. I still needed to pack some of my luggage. They were clearly not expecting me to be so calm, especially Jennifer. She looked at me with a complex expression when I left. It was clear that I had made a fuss for a month because of the pregnancy, but now that I knew about this, I had no reaction. Jennifer felt a sense of unease. Just as I walked to the stairs, Michael caught up and grabbed my sleeve. At this time, Jennifer was still standing at a distance behind me. Michael had revealed his true face. "Aaron, how does it feel to have to raise another man's child? His wife is pregnant with another man's child and then get married. I think I was the only one that could tolerate it. I don't want to have meaningless arguments with him," and pushing his hand away, I prepared to leave. Unexpectedly, just when he was about to exert force, he leaned to the side and fell down. I grabbed his hand without thinking to prevent him from falling. But before I could let go, I heard an angry scolding from behind. "What are you doing?" Jennifer was here and Michael immediately changed into an aggrieved expression. "I just wanted to thank Aaron for being so generous. I never expected that he would." Jennifer's face immediately darkened after hearing Michael's words. "Aaron, I didn't expect you to be such a person." You immediately apologized to Michael. When I heard her blaming me without distinguishing right from wrong, I couldn't help but laugh. "I apologize? Take a look at the camera and see if I should apologize or if he should thank me." I did not expect Jennifer to draw a conclusion without checking the camera and immediately conclude that I wanted to push Michael down the stairs. Michael is sick. How can he hurt himself? A look of panic flashed across Michael's face. That's it, Jennifer. It is normal for Aaron to treat me like this when he is angry. Let's go. Jennifer would not agree. No, he must apologize today. I will not give in. I do not apologize for what I did not do. I will not admit my fault for something that I am not at fault for. Michael was worried that if he continued to dwell on this, Jennifer would really go to check the camera, so he suddenly clutched his stomach and pretended to be in pain. Jennifer's expression immediately turned worried when she saw him like this, and she quickly helped Michael to find a doctor. I looked at them leaving. An endless feeling of bitterness could not be suppressed. More than 20 years of companionship, 5 years of being together, but that couldn't exchange for even a little bit of trust from Jennifer. Fortunately, now I have sobered up. And I can withdraw in time. On the last day before leaving, Jennifer did not return. I think that she must be busy taking care of Michael now who is sick. I had already sent the luggage I had packed to the lab, and there was only one backpack left. That night, Jennifer came back with an angry look on her face. Michael is still in the hospital now. He is sick. Why can't you be more generous and accommodate him? Why do you have to be meticulous about everything? Generous? I think I've been very generous. I gave him the suit jacket which was originally mine, and I was the photographer that took their wedding photos. Yielding the woman who was about to become my wife so that he could have children. Now, will I have to yield the seat next to Jennifer to him? Jennifer glanced at the calendar, where there was a large red circle. Her expression softened a lot. All right. Tomorrow is the wedding already, and I won't argue with you anymore. After the wedding is over, please apologize to Michael. After that, we will go on our honeymoon. I did not respond. If Jennifer was a little more careful, she would have noticed that there was nothing in the room that was prepared for the wedding. I actually hadn't said a word yet. Before I could, Jennifer's phone rang suddenly. It was Michael. Jennifer's expression immediately tightened. Hold on a second. I'll be right out. After hanging up, Jennifer quickly stood up and headed for the door. Michael doesn't feel well. I have to go see him. I'll be back before the wedding. Remember to wait for me tomorrow morning. As the door closed, the words I'd been holding back for so long finally slipped out. We're breaking up, Jennifer. The wedding's off. My voice faded in the empty room. Only the ticking of the clock on the wall broke the silence. I sat in the living room from evening until dawn, watching the darkness turn to light. My phone vibrated, a reminder notification. 3 hours until flight departure. I got up, went to the bedroom, and grabbed the backpack I'd already packed. Grabbing a pen, I turned back. On the calendar, I marked a large X on the 10th. And wrote a sentence, Jennifer, we're breaking up. I put the calendar in the most obvious spot, grabbed my backpack, went outside, and hailed a cab to the airport. Goodbye, Jennifer. On the other side, Jennifer waited until Michael's condition stabilized before leaving the hospital. On the way, she sent a text to Aaron, asking if he'd finished preparing for the wedding. She was on her way to the hotel. But even after Jennifer got in the car, she hadn't received a reply from Aaron. She opened her phone, ready to ask again, but discovered that their last message exchange was half a month ago. Jennifer scrolled through their message history. The screen was mostly white. Sometimes it was Aaron asking what she wanted for dinner, or asking her opinion about the wedding. But each time, Jennifer's replies were very simple. Whatever. Okay. You decide. Aaron was unfazed and still sent her messages every day, but for the past half-month, there hadn't been a single conversation between them. Jennifer felt a little strange. Why hasn't he texted me at all lately? Thinking about it, she couldn't help but remember a month ago, when she told Aaron about doing artificial insemination with Michael, the look of disbelief on his face. For over 20 years, it was the first time she'd seen such a look of pain on his face, and it was also the first time he'd strongly opposed anything she said. But after that, he was steadfast and still didn't agree to the artificial insemination but still kept everything the same as before. It seemed that it had been nothing but artificial from when half a month ago. When she last spoke about having artificial insemination with Aaron, there had been a disconnect. Aaron not only hadn't texted her, but even at home, he barely spoke to her. The more Jennifer thought about it, the more uneasy she felt. Her heart was pounding. It felt like something bad was about to happen. On one hand, she consoled herself that Aaron was probably just busy with the wedding preparations and would be fine. On the other hand, she asked the driver to go faster. Jennifer looked at her phone, still not receiving a reply. She gripped the phone tightly. When she arrived at the hotel, some of her close friends and family were already there. They were gathered, discussing something. When they saw Jennifer, they immediately surrounded her. Mom gave her daughter a frown as she rushed over. "Why aren't you wearing your wedding dress? Where's Aaron? Didn't he come with you?" Her friends were confused too, since she was alone, and asked, "Yeah, where's the groom? The bride isn't even wearing her wedding dress?" Hearing that they hadn't seen Aaron either, a sudden feeling of dread rose in Jennifer's heart. Last night, before leaving, she'd clearly told him he had to go straight to the wedding venue this morning. So where was he? Had he gone to the reception hall first? Jennifer forced a smile. Aaron's probably in the reception hall waiting, setting things up. Saying that, she prepared to go to the reception hall, but then she realized she had no idea which reception hall the wedding was being held in. Aaron had never told her. And she'd never asked. The people around her didn't know either, otherwise they wouldn't have been waiting in the hotel lobby. Jennifer had no choice but to pull over a nearby staff member. "Excuse me, what reception hall did Aaron Johnson book for the wedding?" The staff member flipped through the registration book and replied politely, "Mr. Johnson booked reception hall number 3. Jennifer couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. So she was just overthinking it. He's just been really busy lately. When they go on their honeymoon, she'll buy Aaron a surprise gift to reward him for everything he's done for this wedding." However, right then, the staff member looked at the last column on the registration sheet and said with a hint of doubt, "But Mr. Johnson called half a month ago to cancel the reservation. He said the wedding was off." The staff member's words hit everyone present like a punch to the gut. Jennifer suddenly felt her mind go blank. What? The wedding's off? Jennifer took a step back, shaking her head in disbelief. It can't be cancelled. When he proposed, you could see the joy on his face, impossible to hide. How could he call off the wedding? Around her, friends and family were in shock. They hadn't mistaken the date either. So how could the wedding be cancelled? The staff member confirmed again that Aaron had indeed cancelled the wedding. "Mom," barely restraining her anger, Jennifer grabbed someone and asked what is happening to Aaron. "Isn't the date of the wedding confirmed? He didn't come today, and he cancelled the wedding? What does he mean?" Seeing her daughter with an expression that clearly said she'd just found out the wedding was cancelled, Mom grew even more furious. She knew Aaron and her daughter had known each other for 20 years, and everyone could see the feelings he had for Jennifer. So she had confidently entrusted her daughter to him. But she never expected that on their wedding day, Aaron not only wouldn't show up but had cancelled the wedding half a month ago. And they had no idea. "Call him right now and ask if he still wants to get married or not." Jennifer snapped out of it and took out her phone to call Aaron. As she dialed, she felt her hands trembling slightly. But by now, Aaron had boarded his flight to Boston. His phone couldn't be reached. Only the cold voice of an automated system played. Jennifer felt her heart slowly sink. Everything was fine yesterday, so why couldn't she reach him today? She couldn't take it anymore and immediately turned to go home. She still had a little hope in her heart. But when she pushed open the door, the house was silent and empty. It was clear that Aaron wasn't home. Then she suddenly realized that the picture frame on the table was gone. The frame contained a rare photo of her and Aaron. He always treasured that photo. He always cleaned the frame very carefully every day. Not only that, the razor in the bathroom, his clothes in the closet, everything related to Aaron was gone. Jennifer suddenly remembered, when she and Michael had just returned from their trip, the house seemed much emptier. Maybe it was then, without her realizing it, that the picture frame on the table was gone. But she had only vaguely felt like something was missing. Since Aaron said he'd cleaned up some unnecessary things, she didn't think much of it. Until now, she realized. Aaron wasn't cleaning up unnecessary things. He was erasing all of his belongings and the memories between them. Even himself had disappeared without a trace. Jennifer had only confusion in her eyes. Where did he go? Why do this? Her eyes searched the house. She saw there was a calendar that seemed to have writing on it. She quickly went to it, picking up the calendar, but all she saw were 5 words: "We're breaking up." In an instant, Jennifer felt like lightning had struck her. This was what she'd vaguely been thinking about. And now, it was finally confirmed. Aaron really wanted to break up with her. But why? Today they were supposed to get married. Jennifer knew this was a dream he'd had for 20 years. How could he bear to give it up? In a cloud of confused thoughts, Jennifer remembered Aaron's overly calm face before he left. It seemed he had something he wanted to say to her. But at the time, she was only worried about rushing to the hospital to visit Michael and didn't hear everything he wanted to say. Only a slight glimpse when she closed the door, seeing him sitting on the sofa. His face didn't look happy about the upcoming wedding, nor did it look angry that she had to visit Michael before the wedding. Everything about him was like a still pond. So it turned out, last night, the words Aaron wanted to say were, "Let's break up?" Jennifer wearily slumped onto the sofa, her thoughts in a jumbled mess. The phone on the coffee table kept ringing. Her parents and friends were calling one after another. But she didn't have the strength to answer. She couldn't understand, what reason would Aaron have to break up with her? According to the staff, he'd cancelled the wedding more than half a month ago. Half a month ago. Jennifer suddenly remembered, half a month ago was the day she found out she had successfully conceived through artificial insemination. That day, she had originally planned to keep talking about artificial insemination. She had tried to convince Aaron to agree, but then Michael sent a message saying the test results were in, and she was pregnant. The joy made her dizzy. She hurriedly stopped the conversation and ran to the hospital. Memories from the past half-month gradually became clear in her mind. Canceling the wedding photo shoot, going on a trip with Michael. Aaron had always seemed indifferent to these things. If it was before, he would definitely have been angry with her. Jennifer felt anxious, along with confusion. It turned out that from then on, he had been planning to leave? But he clearly knew that Michael had saved her life. Everything she did was to repay his kindness, so why couldn't he understand her? At first, she hid from him that she was doing artificial insemination, only because she thought artificial insemination wouldn't be easy to succeed. After getting his consent, she then started to have artificial insemination, worried that Michael's time was running out and couldn't let him not see his child born. She had planned to do insemination and persuade him to agree. She believed that he loved her, and he would eventually give in. But she did not expect that everything would be so smooth and that her first attempt would be successful. This changed all of her plans. When she knew she was pregnant at the hospital, he clearly did not have a strong attitude to the opposite. After that, he did not mention this matter again. Then why would she suddenly demand to break up the day before the wedding? Jennifer didn't know that. Aaron didn't strongly oppose it. Because he had known for a long time that she was pregnant. The breakup was not a sudden decision. As early as half a month ago, the 2 words breakup had been engraved in his mind. He had spent 15 days to put out the 20 years of feelings that he had been feeling. Jennifer was not reconciled, but took up her phone again and called him again. At the moment the phone was connected, her initial panic had been replaced by anger. On the other side, after 2 hours of flight, Aaron had finally arrived in Boston. Before taking off, Jessica had sent him a message, saying that she was worried that he couldn't find the specific address, and had arranged for someone to pick him up. Those who picked me up were too many. I looked back and forth many times but still didn't see anyone holding my nameplate. I was about to take out my phone to call Jessica to ask if the person who picked me up had arrived when I suddenly heard a very sweet voice from behind. "Senior brother." When I turned around, I saw a girl smiling brightly, walking towards me. "Sorry. Are you?" I looked at this girl and felt that she was a bit familiar, but I couldn't remember who she was. The girl in front of me pretended to look angry at me, but her voice could not hide her joy. "Senior brother. It has only been 5 years since we met. How can you forget this junior sister already? Be careful that I will go find the teacher to report you." Images of the girl 5 years ago in the laboratory with her eyes reddened gradually appeared in my mind. I looked at the girl in front of me in slight surprise. "You are junior sister Chin?" 5 years ago, when I was about to graduate, the teacher took on a new student called Qin Xiaozhu. I was busy with the work related to graduation at the time, so there were few opportunities to be in contact with this junior sister. The only impression that I had was that her data from the experiment was wrong, but she was unable to find the cause of the error. Fortunately, I went to the laboratory that day to get something. When walking past the experimental table, I noticed that Qin Xiaozhu's eyes were reddened. So I volunteered to go ask if she needed help. After she explained the issue, I checked her step by step in detail, and finally found the problem. I did not expect that 5 years had passed, and that the girl who almost cried because of the experiment had changed so much. At this time, I realized that I had not recognized her. Qin Xiaozhu walked naturally to my side and led the way. Her tone carried a bit of playful tone. "It looks like senior brother can still remember this junior sister, right?" I thought that after not meeting for 5 years, senior brother had forgotten me already. I rubbed my nose. The last few years, I was used to living with a cold person like Jennifer. So I did not know how to deal with a lively girl like Qin Xiaozhu. However, Qin Xiaozhu didn't mind, and calmly pulled my hand and headed towards the parking lot. "Hurry up, senior brother. The teacher has been looking forward to waiting for you for a year already." We rushed back to the laboratory, and standing in front of the door of the teacher's office, I again felt a bit of hesitation, and was not brave enough to push the door in. In the past, when I was about to graduate, the teacher had persuaded me. He hoped that I could stay back to do experiments. But at the time, Jennifer had just agreed to be my girlfriend. In my heart, I only had her. So I decided to follow Jennifer to the school and become a teacher. I declined the care from my teacher. When I received the second invitation from my teacher, the project in the laboratory had just started. The teacher persuaded me for a long time over the phone. But at the time, Jennifer and I had been together for 5 years. I was even more unwilling to leave her, and so I rejected the teacher again. The call made the teacher very angry. And even half a month ago, it was Jessica that made the call. I was worried that the teacher was still angry with me. Qin Xiaozhu saw that I was hesitant. Her eyes flashed. She decided to help me push me the door. Right after, she shouted loudly in the office. "Teacher! Senior brother has returned." My eyes shrunk. I unconsciously raised my hand to cover Qin Xiaozhu's mouth. Before she could stop speaking, my hand had covered her mouth. Her moist lips were touching the warm palm of my hand. The both of us were stunned. I immediately took back my hand like I had touched something hot. Qin Xiaozhu turned her head, and her eyes had a bit of evasiveness. Her ears were slightly reddened. I still did not know what to do when I suddenly heard the teacher's voice. "Get in here, what are you waiting for?" I didn't have time to think, so I adjusted myself, took a deep breath, and opened the door to step inside. 5 years had passed, and my eyes quickly noticed a few strands of gray hair on Professor Davis's head. Remembering how I'd disregarded his advice back then and followed Jennifer away, I couldn't help but feel a little ashamed. Professor Davis looked at me, the student he'd had the highest hopes for, also the one he regretted the most. Countless words wanted to be said, but they all turned into a sigh. You're here now, you have to work hard on the experiment with me. I pushed away the feelings in my heart and nodded forcefully. Professor Davis didn't say anything else, just waved his hand for Jane Ching to take me to the dormitory to put my stuff down. When I got to the dorm, I immediately put down my backpack and lay down on the bed. I sighed, feeling so relaxed. From last night until now, I'd only slept for 2 hours on the plane, and now I was so tired that I couldn't take it anymore. As soon as I lay down, sleepiness washed over me. I didn't even have time to unpack, and I didn't know when I fell asleep. While I was sound asleep, I was suddenly woken up by the ringing of my phone. I groggily picked up my phone, not fully awake, and automatically answered the call. On the other end of the line, Jennifer asked angrily, "Aaron, where did you go?" Jennifer's voice rang in my ear and I woke up instantly. I looked at the clock and realized I had only slept for a little while. The irritation of being woken up, combined with the fatigue from the trip, made me a little annoyed. I wrote it clearly on the calendar. "We've broken up," I said without thinking much. Jennifer was even angrier when she heard me mention the breakup. "You still haven't explained why you did this. You can't do this." "I don't agree. And even if you want to break up, you have to give me a reason. You left me on our wedding day, just leaving behind a sentence saying we were breaking up. What do you think that is?" Listening closely, Jennifer's voice had a hint of slight grievance, not easily noticeable. Because she still hadn't thought about breaking up with me. Nor could she imagine being abandoned on her wedding day. "You've been with me for 20 years, how could you suddenly leave like this?" At that moment, I just wanted to keep sleeping and didn't want to argue with Jennifer anymore. "You're pregnant with Michael Gray's child. Do you think I'll marry a woman carrying another man's child?" I continued, "Actually, I realized long ago that you don't love me." The call was silent for a moment. I was almost asleep again when Jennifer's voice suddenly rang, hoarse, "So, you only want to break up with me because of the baby?" I didn't reply. I could only say that the baby in her belly was a fuse that had ignited the already fragile relationship between us. Over the past half-month, I realized that Jennifer could have such a tender side. At the same time, I also realized that she didn't love me. That was the real reason I wanted to break up. Jennifer continued, "I don't agree to breaking up. Tell me where you are, I want to see you." I didn't plan on seeing her again. Breaking up wasn't like getting married. It didn't require both sides to agree. As long as one side decided to break up, the relationship ended. And just like that, I thought a true old friend should be like that, disappearing from the other person's life. We didn't need to see each other again. Let's just break up peacefully and leave each other with some dignity. Without waiting for her to reply, I hung up. Then, I opened my call history and put Jennifer's number on the blacklist. I opened WeChat and discovered that she had sent me dozens of messages. At first, it was asking about the wedding, then she must have realized I had left, constantly asking me where I'd gone. Jennifer's messages today were several times the amount of messages she'd sent me in the entire past month. I only glanced at the messages she sent, then added her to the blacklist as well. After that, I put my phone aside, pulled up the blankets, and went back to sleep. Jennifer was stunned for a moment when the phone was cut off. It was the first time he had hung up on her. Moreover, he hadn't even explained what was happening. Why hang up? She still didn't know where he was. Jennifer continued to call back. However, the phone gave off a cold signal. "Sorry, the number you dialed is currently unavailable. Please try again later." She prepared to text him, but as soon as the message was sent, Jennifer saw a big red exclamation point. Message sent but rejected by the recipient. Jennifer's mind suddenly went blank. Had he blocked all her ways of contacting him? Before, no matter how angry he was, Aaron had never blocked her. She felt confused, and in her heart, she couldn't suppress the anger. Was it really because of the baby? But she had explained everything so clearly. Michael Gray had cancer, but she just wanted to help him fulfill his wishes. Why couldn't Aaron understand and support her? After her anger, Jennifer felt even more confused. She had never thought about breaking up with Aaron, but now she not only didn't know where he was, but she also didn't have any contact information. How was she going to find him? In a panic, Jennifer thought of his good friend, Tom Hill. The last time there was a friend gathering, Aaron had brought her to Tom's place. She remembered the general location and found it. When Tom opened the door, he saw Jennifer exhausted and running in a hurry. Tom had always stood behind his best friend, closely following him but unrequited. But because they were already boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, he didn't say anything. After hearing Aaron tell him the reason for canceling the wedding, Tom's dissatisfaction with Jennifer had reached its peak. He didn't understand how there could be such a woman in the world. Now, seeing Jennifer standing at his door, all his previous dissatisfaction erupted. He said sarcastically, "Aren't you the ex-girlfriend of my best friend? Why are you here?" Tom knew she was pregnant, but right now, Jennifer didn't have the heart to think about other things. She just wanted to quickly get news about Aaron. "Isn't she the ex-girlfriend of my brother that reciprocated gratitude with her own body?" Tom glared at her. When Aaron was always with her, her attitude was cold and unenthusiastic. Now that they have broken up, the person had left, but now she was acting all concerned. "I don't know what you're doing." After Tom finished speaking, he prepared to close the door. Jennifer reflexively put her hand on the door, and Tom was unable to react in time. Suddenly a sharp pain was transmitted from her hand. Jennifer was in so much pain that she burst into tears. She grabbed her hand, trying to endure the throbbing pain. She asked stubbornly, "Where did he go?" Tom cursed. He couldn't understand Jennifer's actions. "You were planning on having a child with another man, and you still care about where Aaron went?" Hearing that, Jennifer didn't know what else to say. Even his friends were dissatisfied with her being pregnant, but there was a reason. Moreover, she and Tom did not do anything for real. Jennifer continued to say the reasons that she had said to Aaron countless times. "Tom is the one who saved my life. I helped him have a child only to repay him for his help, and I have no other intentions. Tell me his address, and I will go explain it to him." Tom heard her defense. In his heart, he only sneered coldly. He snorted. "You want to know Aaron's address? Dream on. I won't let you bother him. Aaron is also the person who saved your life. Why don't I see you reciprocating his help?" Jennifer was stunned. What was that thing about Aaron also being the person who saved her life? When did he save her? She had no impression at all. "Please tell me clearly. When did he save me?" Tom was not expecting that she would forget such a big thing. In his heart, he became even more infuriated for his friend, and felt a disdain for the woman in front of him. "You have a good destiny and a good memory to forget so much." The last New Year's Eve 6 years ago, but she had forgotten about this important matter. She didn't say a word of thanks at the time, and were still treating her friend like that. The more Tom spoke, the more he was unable to control the anger in his heart. For the past 10 years, Aaron has been silently making sacrifices for Jennifer, including the night of danger 6 years ago. He didn't stop talking about the matter, including also that he had spent over 3 days with stitches in the hospital. And even let her look at his photos from the hospital. Jennifer did not know how she left Tom's home. She felt as if she had fallen into a daze, the world around her was collapsing, and falling into a deep darkness. There was no light shining in. In her memory, that night it was clear that Tom had saved her. So how was this? If it was really as Tom said, that Aaron had saved her, then for the past 10 years she had recognized the wrong benefactor. She tremblingly placed her hand on her belly. The child should not be allowed to exist. Jennifer immediately hailed a cab and rushed to the hospital. She had to clarify whether Tom or Aaron had saved her that night. On the car, she kept thinking about what had happened that night. She only remembered that on the way back to the dormitory, someone was following her. That person had used one hand to cover her mouth and pulled her into a small alley. Feeling the man's uninhibited hand on her body and the sharp, cold knife that was close to her side, she only felt that she was full of despair. She thought that she would never see the light of tomorrow again. But at the most critical time, a shadow had come and pressed down on the man who was assaulting her. She curled up on one side and her body was trembling nonstop. She was planning to take out her phone to call the police but was unable to endure the extreme panic and passed out. When she woke up again, she saw the figure of Tom. Naturally, she thought that it was Tom that had saved her. But according to Tom, it was clear that Aaron had saved her. It was just that, at the time, he was stabbed by a man and was in the hospital, and he went into a coma for 3 days. When he woke up, she had already been discharged. Aaron told Tom that he did not want to use the kindness to get a thank you. He was also worried about making her remember the trauma in her heart. Therefore, for the past 6 years, he had never volunteered to mention this matter. The more Jennifer thought about it, the more confused she was. She did not dare to imagine that if her lifesaver had really been Aaron, then for the past time, what had she been doing? Upon arriving at the hospital, Tom was very surprised to see Jennifer. "Today is not the day that you are holding your wedding with Aaron?" His eyes went towards the red marks on Jennifer's hand and asked in a panicked tone, "What happened to your hand?" "Let me call the doctor right away." "It's not needed." Jennifer cut him off, and her tone was strangely calm. "Tom, are you really my lifesaver?" Jennifer stared straight into Tom's eyes, and did not let go of any of his expressions. Tom clearly did not expect that she would ask this question and a bit of panic flashed across his eyes, but he quickly calmed down. "Of course. When you woke up, the first person you saw was me. Don't you remember?" Tom said with an aura of assurance, but Jennifer, who was still looking at the expressions on his face, did not forget the fleeting panic from the beginning. "I'm Tom, no." The helplessness from Aaron disappearing. The guilt when finding out the truth had been like waves and she could not breathe. At this time, she finally snapped. She snatched her hand back from Tom and with her eyes red, she shouted into his face. "It was Aaron. The person that saved me was Aaron, the one that was by my side for 20 years. Don't make any more excuses. I have already found the evidence. Why did you do this?" When seeing Jennifer completely collapse, Tom understood that he could not hide this matter anymore. In the past when he accidentally went to the hospital to visit his friend. Passing Jennifer's hospital room, I couldn't help but pause to admire her beautiful face, and unexpectedly, she woke up. And mistook me for her rescuer. A strange coincidence, Tom didn't deny it. He'd planned to use this identity to get closer to her and be with her. But he was suddenly sent abroad to study by his family, and lost contact. Until 6 months ago, when he found out he had cancer, he returned home and started contacting Jennifer again. Tom hurriedly explained, "At the time, I just wanted to pursue you under this title." Jennifer was now enveloped in an atmosphere of despair. She didn't want to continue to haggle with Tom, explaining why he had lied to her. She just wanted to quickly break off with him and make up for the people she had hurt. "I have to abort the baby." Tom immediately panicked, "This child is the last hope of my family, you can't get rid of it." "No. The baby already has a life. You are a mother, how can you do this?" "Can you really? Besides, Aaron, he knew you were pregnant half a month ago. It looks like your wedding was called off today, right? In the future, you can give birth to my child, and be a daughter-in-law in the Gray family. How great would that be?" Jennifer was about to leave when she suddenly stopped at his last sentence. Half a month ago. An immeasurable pain surged from the bottom of her heart, and from there, it spread throughout her body, surrounding her, as if wanting to swallow the entire world. Tears fell from her eyes, drop by drop. So Aaron had known she was pregnant for a long time. That's why he decided to leave that day. That's why he was so calm for the past half-month. That's why at the hospital that day, he didn't show any surprise on his face. But all of this, Jennifer didn't realize. Just thinking about how she had hurt Aaron, the man who saved her life, because of Tom, the false benefactor, for so long, she felt a stabbing pain in her heart. She reached out and wiped away her tears, her eyes filled with an unprecedented determination. She had to abort the baby, find Aaron, apologize to him, and make up for everything he had done for her over the past 20 years. As Jennifer was preparing to leave, Tom couldn't just stand by while his situation was still unstable, so he wanted to stop Jennifer. Jennifer, after this half year, can you honestly say that you don't have any feelings for me at all? However, only Aaron's figure appeared in Jennifer's mind at this time. The boy who always silently walked behind her in the past, not far or near. The one who, every time they were together, prepared a warm cup of ginger tea for her. She picked him because she was only curious if a person's feelings could last all those years. At the time, she didn't put too much emotion into it. Later, it was the days and nights spent together for 5 years, she felt his care, his thoughtfulness, and she finally realized that there were some people who can actually love without stopping for 20 years as much as possible. Jennifer looked at Tom, her eyes filled with only unfamiliarity and coldness. Never again, I won't be in contact with you in the future. That day, Jennifer arranged for surgery to abort the baby in her womb. When the Gray family found out, they made a ruckus at the hospital, saying the hospital had killed their family's only grandson. But Jennifer's signature on the confirmation was clear on the page. The hospital had to call the police, using the reason of disturbing public order to take the Gray family away. Jennifer no longer cared about anything related to the Gray family. She was unwilling to lose news about Aaron, so she went to Tom's house to ask where he had gone. And every time he didn't say, Jennifer would guard outside his door. 4 days in a row, Tom really felt annoyed, and finally only replied with one sentence, Aaron went to the lab. He had already left Chicago, but he refused to reveal which lab it was. Jennifer and Aaron went to the same university. She remembered his professor. After asking around with many old friends, she found out that Aaron's professor had opened a lab in Chicago. Although there was no concrete evidence that Aaron was at that lab, Jennifer's intuition told her that he was in Chicago. Jennifer bought a plane ticket and immediately flew to Chicago. Relying on the address provided by her old friends, Jennifer found the lab without any problems. At this time, the first experiment had not yet begun. The lab had not been locked down. So Jennifer directly found someone who had just returned from the outside and asked him to help find Aaron. When I heard that someone was looking for me, I was very surprised. I'd only told a few people the address of the lab, so how could someone have come to find me so soon after I left Chicago? I went outside, full of doubt. When I went out, I realized that the person looking for me was Jennifer. Seeing her figure, my eyes turned a little moist. The feeling of anxiety that I had during this time suddenly vanished. Jennifer couldn't help but step forward and grabbed Aaron's hand. Why did you break up with me? Why did you leave without saying a word? Do you know how much effort I had to put in to find you? Aaron woke up in what could almost be considered shock seeing Jennifer. Her continuous questions caught him off guard, but because she just made her claims he had not been able to pull her hand from his. Jennifer, seeing that he didn't resist her touch, felt a little happy in her heart. Maybe he was just sulking at her. She would explain it to him, and he would definitely forgive her. But unfortunately, soon after, Jennifer's beautiful illusion was shattered. He regained his senses and forcefully brushed off her hand, his expression a little impatient. What did you come here for? Jennifer saw the look on his face that avoided her and felt confused. Aaron, I'm here to apologize to you. I don't want to listen. Aaron interrupted Jennifer before she could finish. From beginning to end, my attitude has only been one. We're breaking up. I don't know how you got my address, but please don't come looking for me again. The experiment will start tomorrow. I just want to do the experiment in peace. Go back, Tom is waiting for you. Jennifer knew that her previous attitude had deeply hurt Aaron's heart. So now he was treating her like this, without mercy. But she was willing to use time, use everything she had, to make up for him. Aaron, I don't have any feelings for Tom. The person I love is you. After 5 years together, it was the first time Aaron had heard Jennifer say love. But the 5 years of feelings, without a bit of happiness, have made me realize I won't believe in those two empty words anymore. I only glanced at her, eyes full of sarcasm. Don't you feel ridiculous saying those two words? With that, I didn't want to continue to haggle with her. Turning around, I returned to the lab. Tomorrow was the first day of the experiment, and I still had a lot of preparations to do. Behind me, I could hear Jennifer calling without end. But I didn't turn back. Jennifer found a hotel near the lab to stay. She was determined that Aaron wouldn't be able to stay in the lab forever. She hoped she would see him again. But unexpectedly, a day passed, then 2 days, then a week, and she still didn't see Aaron. Jennifer finally couldn't sit still. She asked the security guard, and finally found out that the experiment had actually started. Unless the experiment was over, no one in the lab would come out. Jennifer hurriedly asked, "How long will the experiment take?" The security guard replied, "The estimated time is 1.5 years." Jennifer dazedly flew back to Chicago. Back at home, she lay on the big bed. She could only feel how extremely cold this house that she had been connected to for 5 years was at this moment. There would no longer be anyone by her side when she was sick, pouring water, giving medicine. There would no longer be anyone calling her name. There would no longer be anyone leaving the lights on when she came home late. Jennifer curled up, as if just doing that would make her feel a little warmer. She didn't know when she had fallen asleep. In her dream, it was as if everything that had happened over the past week had never happened. She and Aaron had had a successful wedding. Right after the wedding, they went to register their marriage and became a legal couple. Then, they went on their honeymoon. They played all over Europe. At each tourist spot, they left behind photos of the two of them. Jennifer woke up, no longer able to distinguish between dreams and reality. She unconsciously called Aaron's name. However, she did not hear the familiar reply. Only the chirping of sparrows outside the window rang out. Jennifer touched her pillow. It was soaked in a patch. The feeling of determination to break up and the misunderstanding of the lifesaver of that year continued to alternate, intertwined in her mind, almost making her unable to think. Her entire body fell into a daze. But when her eyes touched the 2 dark red words on the calendar, break up, Jennifer gradually woke up. She didn't want to break up with Aaron. Even if he had to be in the lab for 1.5 years, she was willing to wait. Over the past 20 years, it was Aaron who had always been pursuing her. Now, the positions had changed. She was also willing to pursue Aaron. This time, let her prove her heart to Aaron. Jennifer's eyes gradually became firm. She would wait for Aaron to return. 2 years later. Chicago Airport. She pushed her luggage, smiling, following the happy, jumping figure in front. Occasionally turning her head to look around, observing the changes around her. The first experiment of the lab unexpectedly lasted for 2 years, but fortunately, the final result was perfect. The professor had given them 2 months of vacation. Finally, he was also returning to Chicago. I felt a little emotional. It had been 2 years since I left the city. But the difference was, when my eyes touched the excited figure of Jane Cheen in front, it became much gentler. Unlike 2 years ago, when I left alone, now there were 2 people returning. And this time, there was also an important thing that needed to be done. When she turned back, seeing that I was still behind her, Jane rushed to my side. "Hey, if you don't hurry up, we will be late." Upon receiving the news that I was returning to Chicago, Tom without any hesitation said he would host a welcome party for me. It had been 2 years since we had met, friends had to get together for fun. I also missed my old friends very much, so I agreed immediately. The welcome party was set for the day that Jane and I arrived. When they arrived in front of the restaurant, the time had already arrived. Jane pulled me and rushed in. I do not know if it was because of my senses, but, as I went up the stairs, I caught the sight of a familiar figure. But who he was, I did not know. She only thought that she ran too quickly, so her what she saw was blurred. It was important to quickly find the private room now. Over on the other side, Jennifer covered her mouth, and her eyes were full of tears. Her entire body was in the joy of losing and finding again. 2 years. She had been waiting for 2 years and finally, she saw Aaron's figure again. She could not describe how long she was in the long nights all alone in the empty room. In the beginning, she had insomnia throughout the night. Even if she fell asleep after that, every time she woke up, the first sentence in her mind was calling Aaron's name. But, only the silence in the room replied to her. There would no longer be anyone to make breakfast for her, there would no longer be anyone waiting for her to return home. She searched everywhere in the house, but was unable to find any of Aaron's belongings. Even the set of couple's pajamas she bought had disappeared. She only had that calendar by her bedside. Although it had the breakup announcement on it that Aaron wrote, it was the only thing that he had left her. She stubbornly did not give up. She believed that, as long as she did not agree, they would not break up. As long as she saw Aaron again, she would explain it to him. She would tell him that she had only recognized the wrong person who saved her life. Now, she had completely broken off her relationship with Tom, and she had aborted the child. She thought. Aaron had been with her for 20 years. He would definitely not give up so easily. She had always been waiting for him to return, and she wanted to say all of her thoughts to him. Like that, they would be able to get back together again. Finally, 2 years later, heaven had given her this opportunity. But Jennifer then thought about the girl who was just standing next to Aaron. It seemed that the relationship between them was very good. But she could hear that the girl was calling him senior brother. 2 years ago, Aaron had gone to his professor's lab. That girl was probably just a junior student of his. Thinking of this, Jennifer felt a little more at ease. Watching them enter the restaurant, Jennifer also followed. Aaron opened the door to the private room together with Jane, and they heard a voice. Multicolored ribbons were thrown everywhere on their bodies. Tom stepped forward, and laughed as he gave my shoulder a light punch. 2 years, and there hasn't even been a text message. If I did not know that you had gone to the lab, I probably would have had to ask you what happened. Inside the private room, everyone was laughing, and the joking voices could be heard. That's right. 2 years ago, after you said you would call off the wedding, you disappeared without a trace. If Tom didn't tell us, we still wouldn't know where you were. That makes no sense. That's it. You didn't tell us anything. Today, it is your welcome party, but you even came late. You must drink to be punished. Tonight, you must get drunk before you are allowed to go back. Let's all be done drinking. Before, Jane had never met Aaron's group of friends and she felt a bit worried. She was worried that Aaron's friends would not like her. I noticed the uneasiness of Jane next to me, and quietly took her hand. The two people looked at each other, and Jane immediately felt much more at ease. Seeing the happy expressions of his friends at his return, I felt very emotional in my heart. Don't be rowdy. Now I will introduce you to someone, to the other junior sister. I lightly cleared my throat, raised my hand to hold Jane's hand, and said loudly. By the way, for returning this time, I am also introducing you to someone. This is my junior sister. Jane Cheen. I paused for a moment and then continued, also my fiancé. I originally thought that after my relationship with Jennifer, it would be very hard to start a new relationship. I had even prepared myself to dedicate myself to scientific research. But unexpectedly, these past 2 years, the junior sister Jane Cheen has gradually entered my heart. Jane Cheen and Jennifer were completely different. If Jennifer was a stone that you could never warm, then Jane Cheen was a little sun that releases warmth. From Jane Cheen, I realized what love was and what were true emotions. So 2 months ago, also the anniversary of the 1-year mark of our relationship, I had proposed. We had promised to have a wedding at the end of the experiment. Everyone looked at me and then at each other, and burst out laughing as loud as thunder. Great, you what? Talking about doing experiments, and yet, you were secretly being romantic, right? Your fiancé. When are you holding the wedding? I want to be a groomsman. I want to too. The cheerful atmosphere made Jane's slightly nervous mood much more relaxed. I laughed lightly. I was just about to announce the date of the wedding when I suddenly heard a trembling female voice from behind. "She is his fiancée, so what am I?"